there's a predecessor M1 that was sent before it. When you see M3, how do you know there's something to be received before that? See what I mean? So the messages need to carry some information. That prior to this, another message like M1 was sent. So process 3 should not process M3 before receiving M1. So the messages need to carry some timestamp. What was sent before this and all these things. See what I mean? Just because you receive the message, you cannot say I have to buffer it. Right? So you have to decide whether to buffer it or accept it. Right? So the messages need to carry some timestamp. So to insert a timestamp on a message, the processes need to maintain some timestamps, like we did the vector clocks before. So we're going to look at 3 algorithms to facilitate what is called the causal ordering of messages. Okay? So the first one, this is the overview of all the 3, but we'll go each one by one. So this is the name of the 3 people who proposed that algorithm. So we will just go with the acronym BSS algorithm. And it's a broadcast based. Broadcast means what? Do you know what is broadcasting? In communication, there can be 3 types of communication. What is called unicast communication, and then multicast communication, and broadcast communication. Unicast means what? Sending from one process to another specific process. So if you are communicating from person A to person B, that's unicast. Nobody else is receiving that message. Okay, that's unicast. As broadcast means you're communicating from one process to every other process. Right? So I'm actually doing broadcasting because I'm sending something, I'm talking, and you all receiving it. So it's a broadcasting. Now multicasting is in between. Instead of broadcasting to everyone, you are sending to only a group of people. So there may be a kind of a group of students to whom I want to share something, not with everyone, but just a group, then that is multicasting. So here, if a process wants to send something only to a specific set of processes, you send only the message to those processes, not to every process. That is multicasting. Is that clear? So we'll use this terminologies also in this module. So in this BSS algorithm, all communication is broadcast based. So even if I want to send a message to a specific process, I end up broadcasting to all processes, and because of that, that particular process ends up also receiving that message. You see what I mean? So if you have say 3 processes, P1, P2 and P3, if P1 wants to send something to P2, end up broadcasting it so that both P2 and P3 receive it, but virtually want to send only to P2. So this basically was based on broadcasting. Okay? The second one was based on unicasting. If you want to send from P1 to P2, I just send to P2. I don't send it to anyone else. Okay? So we'll see some trade-offs because of broadcasting and because of unicasting. Okay? So then we look at the third one also. So let's look at the first one. So we'll look at based on example. So here I have again 3 processes and the clock values. So it is vector clock. So this is 0, 0, 0 corresponds to 0, 0, 0 and 0, 0, 0. Now as you'll see, I have indicated there's no need to increment the clock due to receiving in this particular algorithm. You increment the clock only while sending. Okay? And the reason why you don't need to increment the clock while receiving is because you're broadcasting. So if P1 is broadcasting a message to every process gets to know that P1 has sent that message. Right? So there's no need to specifically record a receiving event. You record only the sending events. Alright? So that thing you have to remember. So which one starts first? Process 3. So you see here, process 3 originally had a timestamp 0, 0, 0 and it is sending. So you know the structure behind vector clocks, right? So this is corresponding to process 1, this is process 2, this is process 3. So 0 to 1, the others are still 0. Right? Clear? Now, this is broadcast. Broadcast means this message is sent to both P1 and P2. Right? So, P1 has a 0, 0, 0, P2 has this local clock value. Then it gets what? This is the timestamp of this message, same as the timestamp at the sender. So, now P2, this is process P2, right? Has to decide whether to accept that message or not. Which message? The message that comes from P3 with this timestamp. So how will it decide whether to accept this message or not? Okay? This is the local clock value at P2, right? Before receiving this message, this is the local clock value, 0, 0, 0, and it receives that message, right? Is that clear? So to decide whether to receive it, it has to see this entry again means what? This is for P1, this is for P2, and this is P3. So when you do a component-wise comparison, you see here, this is 0, same as 0. This is 0, same as 0. So what all those entries mean? P2 knows as good as what P3 knows. P3 is the center of this message, right? P3 sends it. So this clock value indicates what P3 knows about the other processes. So, and this is indicating what P2 knows about the other processes. So P2 knows as good as what P3 knows, right? So which means P3 has sent the message after it might have received, in this case no, but in general, after receiving what are the messages that were sent to P3, P3 has sent this message. And since the clock values are the same at P2, P2 should have also received those messages because all the messages are broadcast, right? So the only difference happens where? Here. The clock value here is 0, corresponds to P3, and the clock value here is 1. And they differ only by 1. This is 0 and 1, right? So the difference is due to what? Because P3 sent that message. So P3 was also initially 0, 0, 0, right? So because of sending the message, it incremented this 0 to a 1. So that difference of 1 is because of sending of this message. You cannot avoid that, right? Because you have not yet received this message, isn't it? So that difference in the last case, because of process P3 is sending the message, that entry is differing by 1 from what P2 knows. Because P2 currently thinks P3 is clock value 0. And it was 0, but P3 sent that message, so that's why it incremented its clock value from 0 to 1. So P3 gets to know that only if it accepts that message, right? So it goes and accepts the message only if the other entries are greater than or equal to what is in the message, and the sender's clock estimate is differing only by 1. So this is 0 and this is 1 in this case. So after accepting what it does, it just takes a component-wise maximum. Maximum of 0 and 0 is a 0, maximum of 0 and 0 is 0, and then maximum of 0 and 1 is a 1. So take the component-wise maximum between the entries in the message as well as in the local clock value. Is that clear? Now let's look at this. The same message was broadcast to this guy, process P1. So that message actually goes like this. And then what P2 does, after receiving this message, it sends a message to P1. So P2's clock value before is 0, 0, 1. When it is sending the message, what I said, the process increments its own clock value. Its own clock value is what? The second entry, isn't it? That is 0. Right? So P2 increments this 0 to 1. So this is the clock value when P2 sends this message, 0, 1, 1. So the message has what timestamp? This message has what timestamp? This timestamp, 0, 1, 1, right? Now what's the timestamp at this process? 0, 0, 0 at P1. So this is the timestamp at local clock value at P1, and this is the message timestamp carried by the message. As you see here, this is coming first. What is coming first? The message sent by P2 is coming first. Now compare the clock values. 0 is equal to 0, fine. But you see 0 is less than 1. That is fine too, because this is corresponding to process 2. And process 2 has just sent one message. That's why they are differing by 1. But look at the third entry. This is 0 and this is 1. Again, what the third entry indicates? The third entry indicates which process? Process 3, P3. So what does it mean? The sender of this message, which is P2, has received a message from process 3. Before what? Before sending this message. Right? Because only that way this would have been a 1. Right? And which message was received? This message. Right? So before this message was received, the sender of this message has received something from P3 which P1 did not get yet. Because P1's clock value for P3 is 0. Whereas P2's clock value for P3 is a 1. So, which means P2 knows something from P3 which P1 does not know yet. Is that clear? Because this entry is a 1, which P2 cannot have manipulated it, because P2 can manipulate only this entry, its own entry. So if P2's entry for P3 is a 1, it means P2 got something from P3 which P1 did not get yet. Right? Do you see that? So which means you have to buffer the message. You cannot accept the message right away. Right? So how do you decide that? You compare component wise, and other than the sender's entry is what? P2 here. P2 and P2. So here this is 0, that's 1. Acceptable because of sending it would differ by 1. But for the other processes, P1 should have at least the same knowledge as the sender. If P1 has less knowledge, means it did not receive some messages compared to the sender of this message, you should buffer this message until it gets all those messages, which P2 has got. You see what I mean? P2 sends this message after getting some other messages. And P1 should also get those messages before it can accept this. Because of what? The cause and effect relationship. Because this message caused the sending of this message. So P1 should get this message before accepting this message. Is that clear? So, that's why you have to buffer this message. So now this message comes, so you should not deliver it here. And let this message come. This message carries what timestamp? 001, right? The timestamp when it was sent. So now you compare this with this. 0 less than equal, 0 actually equal to 0. This is 0. And this is 0, 1. And this is corresponding to process 3. And process 3 is sending the message. So it could differ by 1 because of the sending. So now P1 goes ahead and accepts this message. So its clock value is now 0, 0, 1. The component wise maximum again. So maximum 0 and 0, 0. Maximum 0 and 0, 0. Maximum 0 and 1. Is that clear? So now compare this clock value with this. Which one? 0, 1, 1. The clock value of this message. Timestamp. So now you see 0 is equal to 0. That's P1's clock. And then 0 is less than 1 because of the sending of the message by P2, that's fine, and 1 is equal to 1. So those two entries, the first one is corresponding to P1, the last one corresponding to P3. Other than the sender, P1 knows at least what the sender knows. The sender knows what? 0 and 1. And P1 also has 0 and 1. Which means you have all the information, it means you have got all the messages that you need to receive to process this message. Is that clear? So you can now go ahead and accept this message that was buffered. And how do you do that? You just take the component wise maximum again. 0, maximum 0 and 0 is 0, maximum 1 and 1 is 1. Sorry, maximum 1 and 0 is 1, and then maximum this 1 and 1 is 1. Just take the component wise maximum. Okay? So this way you can guarantee what? Causal delivery or ordering of messages. You won't deliver a message before delivering its predecessor that was sent earlier before that. Is that clear? So the same example, let's look at some more messages that were sent and received. So we saw in the previous thing up to this point, right? Up to receiving of this, right? And remember, it is a broadcast page. So when P2 sends this message to P1, so the clock value would be what? The same 0, 1, 1. Right? Now, after this message was delivered at P1, at this point it was delivered, P1 now sends a message to P2. Right? So after you deliver the same message that you sent earlier, which message? That you sent from P2, the message that you sent from P2 was delivered at this point, right? And P2 also sends it to P3. Now what happens? P1 goes ahead and sends a message to both of them, to P2 and P3. Is that clear? And before sending, the clock value is 0, 1, 1. So what will happen to the clock value during sending? You increment P1's local clock, because P1's local clock is 0. And you increment the clock here only while sending, not while receiving. So you increment this to 1, so now this is 1, 1, 1. Right? So this is the clock value of the message, or timestamp of the message, 1, 1, 1, sent to both of them. Is that clear? So that message comes to P3, and this message that was sent by P2 also comes to P3. Now, which message comes first? As you see in this figure, the message sent by P1 comes first. Right? So the issue is whether to accept that message coming from P1 or not at P3. And what is the clock value at P3 before getting that message? 0, 0, 1, right? Nothing happened at P3 after that. So the clock value before getting the message is 0, 0, 1, and the clock value carried by the message timestamp is 1, 1, 1. So now we have to decide whether to accept the message or not. What's your answer? Not. How we decide that? This 1, 1, 1 carried in the timestamp, right? Who is sending this? This is sent by P1, right? So just in the P1's case, this could be fine. This is the first entry, 0 and 1, right? So you could have 1 less than the message because of the sending, so that's fine. What about the other 2 entries? So look at the sender entry first. Make sure it is just 1 more than what you know, because that 1 more than is because the guy is sending you something, right? And he has incremented it. So sender is P1, right? So you look at the sender's own entry. This is 1 and this is 1, 0 here. So that's fine because this 1 is because of sending. The others should be what? They should be the same. P3 should know at least what the sender knows, right? So this is here what? 0 and 1, and this is what? 1 and 1. So which means what? P1 knows something more from the other processes than what P3 knows. Right? Which means what? P3 should not accept this message right now, because what this means? P1 has sent this particular message after getting to know something corresponding to these two numbers 1 and 1 from the other processes. Whereas P3 has not yet learned that information, has not yet got those messages. So which means P3 cannot process this message before receiving those messages that P1 got before sending this. Right? So P3 should just buffer this message. Alright? So that's why you are buffering it here. And then wait for something that will make your clock correspond to a 1, 1 for these two entries. So at this time, this message comes from P2. So now look at this message clock value. This is 0, 1, 1 and this is 0, 0, 1. So now, how would you decide first? Look at the sender. The sender is P2, right? So this is the local message, the clock value at P2, right? And this is, what is the clock value for P2 here? 0. So it is just 1 less than this. Acceptable because that 1 difference because of this particular message itself, right? What about the other 2 entries? This entry and this entry. This corresponds to P1's clock and this corresponds to clock as per P2, right? And what is that here? It's the same. Which means what? P3 knows at least what P2 knows about the other processes, right? So you can go ahead and accept that message. Is that clear? So you accept it and take the component wise maximum. Basically, since the other entries are same, we just change the 0 to 1. That's what it is this. So now you accept this message, you deliver this message here. Now compare the clock value of this message with the clock value here. And what you learn now, again P1 is the sender, so this one difference would be there, but the others are now what? The same. This is 1, 1 and this is 1, 1. So which means what? Again P1 knows, P3 knows everything that P1 knows before sending this message. Right? So you can go ahead and accept this message, you buffer it. This time, and now you accept it. So what you do is just increment this to 1, 1, 1 because of this 1. Right? Now let's look at this one. This guy, P1, sends P2 two messages. One message is this, right? 1, 1, 1. It sends, after sending this message, it sends another message to both the processes. This message. Right? So now let's look at the delivery of this message. It sends this message with timestamp, this timestamp 111 to P2. Of course it comes to P3 also, we saw that now, but let's look at now P2. So after sending this, it sends another message to both of them. So this was sent with 111. So what should the timestamp of this? How do you increment this? This is just sending, right? So this is P1 is sending. So that's why you increment the first entry corresponds to P1. So increment this from 1 to 2, the others are just same. Because the others correspond to the other processes, right? So you just increment to 2 and send out the message. You send to both P1 and P3. So now let's focus only at P2 here. So you send it out with what clock value? 211. Okay, the timestamp. And what is the clock value at P2 before receiving this message? This message comes first. Notice that. The message that was sent later comes first. The message that was sent earlier comes later. Right? So, we need of course buffer it, but how would you decide that? So let's look at the clock value at P2 before receiving this message. What's the clock value? 011. So you have to compare the local clock value to 011 with the timestamp of this message, which is 211. Is that clear? And who is sending this? Who is sending that? P1. So you should first look at the corresponding entry. Which values will compare? 2 and 0. Good. So you compare 2 and 0. What did I say? They can differ only by 1, which means P2 can be 0 and the message has to be a 1 because that 1 should correspond to that particular message that was sent. But this is now 2. What does it mean? P1 has sent one more message to P2 before sending this message. Right? Because P2's knowledge about P1 is 0, it means it doesn't know anything that P1 has sent so far. Right? That's what the numbers mean. The numbers indicate the number of messages sent by some other process, right? So P2's knowledge about P1 is it has not sent any message so far. And the message says the timestamp is 2. It means P1 has sent 2 messages, including this message. And P1 has not got the previous message. Right? So this is, you understand that? So that's why P2